Hi, everybody. This is Silvio Canto in Dallas, Texas on Sunday, November the 2nd. Remember that one I said last week? If it's Sunday at George, well, it's turning out that way. That very often we have our good friend George Rodriguez from South Texas on Sundays. George, welcome.
Thank
Welcome
you very
to the
much.
first Sunday of November and also the first Sunday with a different clock because the time changed last night. And I got to tell you something about this time change or this clock, whatever they call it. Some machines will do it automatically, others
Yes,
will not. I
yes.
had this experience the other night or last night. I have this little uh, clock radio that I bought less than a year ago. That one automatically changed.
Right. I have four clocks that I finally went out and bought to do that very thing,
Yeah,
and I knew what time it was correctly today, except when I got in the car.
right.
The car radio, the car clock threw me off for a little while.
Yeah, I had to do that too. I had to change the clock, and the one that is here to my left, my clock radio that is probably 20 years old, that that one I had to manually change. But I am impressed that so many of these new things that have been created or built or sold over the last few years, they automatically I get they must have some, I don't know, some internet connection or something that they plan that it changes automatically. So that's kind of a nice thing, when you don't have to worry about, going there with your finger and manually counting
Correct.
down, you got the right time. So we have a new clock, which means that it gets darker sooner. That's
Yes.
the only way I can explain it. Well, let's begin with the World Series. I mean, I tell you, what a great series it was. All seven games really were very good. But obviously, the last two and the last one, the one that last night was just classic. Uh, I didn't really have a team here. I mean, in the sense that my favorites were not playing, so I was hoping to go seven games and be exciting, and I got my wish because it went seven games and it was exciting. So, but you have sort of an indirect connection to the Dodgers because they had a team. Maybe they still do. I think a double A or team
Triple A.
in Triple A team. So a lot of the Dodgers have gone through San Antonio. I
Yes.
remember Fernando Valenzuela went through there many years
Fernando
ago, and
Valenzuela, Steve Garvey, who is running
Steve
for
Garvey,
Senate in
right?
California. In fact, Steve Garvey was a young player when he was here, and my parents got to meet him
Wow.
several times. In fact, they took him to a Mexican restaurant uh, after one game because they got to know him so well. So yeah, we have a very strong connection with Steve Garvey.
Yeah, Steve Garvey, one of the great Dodgers of all time, first baseman, great hitter, MVP. I
Fantastic
mean,
player.
yeah, just a great
And a
player.
very good conservative. Hopefully, he'll get some strong votes in California when he runs.
I sure hope so. I sure hope so because if there's a place in the world that could use a change,
Yep,
it's California.
California.
But George, what I think for me, what makes baseball so interesting, and people who know me know that I grew up playing baseball because when you're born in Cuba and you grew up in a Cuban home, you play baseball and you follow baseball. Your parents are baseball fans, so baseball has always been in my blood. But it still amazes me. It's the of all the major team sports, it's the only one that doesn't have a clock.
Yeah,
So you cannot run out the clock. And we saw that last night. I mean, you have to get the last out. You have to defeat your opponent all the way. And I think that's one of the reasons why baseball lends itself to these crazy finishes. Because most other sports, and I'm not knocking any sport. I mean, I love the NFL. I love the other sports. But like in the NFL, if you're up by a couple of touchdowns in the fourth quarter, you slow down. You start using the clock. And, even if you're down to the last minute, you can take a knee and burn up 40 seconds, that kind of thing. That, of course, doesn't happen in baseball. You have to win the game. You have to get the last out. So that to me is the most exciting part about the game and the reason why I think you can have a finish like what you had last night, George.
it was a very very exciting finish. I mean, I thought that the pitcher was going to mess up there at the end, but nope, he hung in there. In fact, and I think I shared it with you. The thing that struck me about this World Series is that historically the World Series in baseball has always been an American spectacle.
Right.
But last night you had the closing pitcher named Yamamoto.
What a great name.
Yeah, very good name. And then you had a player on the opposing team named Vladimir Guerrero,
Right.
who probably was their best hitter.
It was.
And then you've got two teams, Los Angeles and Toronto, Canada, playing for the World Series. I kept thinking, what would somebody like my grandfather, who was a great baseball aficionado, who actually played in the 20s, played Mexican ball in the Mexican leagues. What would he have thought had he seen this last night? These two teams, these two players. What would he have thought? I mean, it truly, in my opinion, has become a World Series.
Yeah, it is. It was
really a global. Yeah. It's a global spectacle now.
It is, and even if they're not playing in different countries, as was the case last night, you now have, because of the Japanese players
and
Korean play, you now have, a television audience in Japan in the millions.
That's right.
In fact, last night when the last out of the game was made, I said to myself, I wonder what time it is in Japan right now.
Yeah.
Right. And I checked, and it was like noon or something. Yeah. I'm not sure if it's the next day.
I guarantee there were a lot of screams and yells over there.
They had 18 million people watching that game just in Japan alone. So that gives you, of course, you had in Canada too. You had a large audience there too, and of course in the United States. So I mean, it was
and probably in Latin America.
Well, I'm sure they did, yeah, because of the many of the Latin players. So I just think that it was just a great night for the game itself, yeah. And it
was a thrilling game. It was a thrilling game,
and it really was. That ending. I mean, that play at home. I saw the video, and somebody actually reduced it to a photo, and he was out. I mean, the call was correct, but he was out by maybe 2 inches.
Yep.
Imagine that, by 2 inches. So I don't know what to tell you. What a great game. And I say congratulations to both teams and to baseball. Don't change it, please. Leave it the way it is. Leave the game the way it is. We don't need to make. I mean, they've made some changes over the years, which is understandable. There's too many. There's too many. What do they call that? Where they're using statistics all the time for everything. And the one thing I miss more than anything else is complete games. I love seeing a pitcher go out and throw a complete game. That,
oh my gosh,
is the one thing that I miss the most out of the modern game, because now they only go 6 innings and everything is number of pitches.
Golden.
Yes, and I cannot help but think of Bob Gibson, throwing 3. He pitched in 3 game 7s. Bob Gibson.
Wow.
And he threw a complete game each time. Can you believe that? So, and not even Jack Morris not long ago with the Tigers or with the Twins, when I think he won 11 innings in game 7 against the Braves. So anyway, I don't want to get into too much baseball, because otherwise we won't get to anything else important. But it was a great game, and congratulations to both teams and to Major League Baseball. Well, let's begin with some sad news coming out of Mexico, and this is becoming too frequent, unfortunately. The mayor of the second city in Michoacan was assassinated in a public event. Now, this is a young man with 2 children, small children. In fact, I think he was holding one of his kids right before he was assassinated. But he had been a critic of the president of Mexico, or the government of Mexico. He had been calling on the government of Mexico to help him fight the criminal elements, as they call them. And here he gets killed, and he's not the only one, George. There's been quite a few of them, and I think that there's nothing we can do about it, probably, but I think this has to be hurting President Scheinbaum, all these people being killed like this cannot help her. I mean, she's trying to project this very moderate image. When your people are getting killed, I mean, that's a bad deal, George.
Yeah, I mean, she constantly is saying that the politics in Mexico are not influenced by the cartels. Well, I beg to differ. An assassination is a big signal, and it influences politicians. I think it sends and it is intended as an assassination by the cartels is intended to send a message to politicians, and that's exactly what it does. We have seen the state of Michoacan really in having a lot of chaos, a lot of violence between cartels, and we have seen a lot of folks, a lot of civilians, and politicians who want to change try to make a difference, try to get some change, and it's been very, very difficult for them. I think that this violence of attacking politicians and reporters as well is something that Scheinbaum could try to deny, but she can't. There's an old saying in Spanish, tratan de tapar el sol con un dedo, to try to hide the sun with a finger. You can't. Right. And this is the situation that we've got in Mexico. We've got it on the front, on the border. We've got it in Nuevo Laredo. We've got it in Matamoros. We've got it in Reynosa. We've got it in Juarez. We've got it in Tijuana. It's to many of us, it's a matter of time before it spills into our streets. But we've got to do what we can to stop it, to prevent it. And I just don't think that Scheinbaum can.
No, because a lot of this, of course, is a continuation of her predecessor's policies.
Yeah.
And remember Lopez Obrador, and he was the author of that idiotic line that says hugs, not bullets. In other words, he wanted to hug people instead of bullets. Look, I'm all for hugging people, but when you're the only one hugging and they're shooting, you better you better protect yourself. And I think her problem, and it's not just on the violence, it's really just about everything. Her problem is that she's so connected to him. I mean, in a way, it's almost like Kamala Harris and Joe Biden.
Yeah,
they're so connected that she cannot break with him because maybe she fears consequences herself.
Yeah. I would venture to say that she might feel. I mean, I can't imagine that she wouldn't feel some sort of fear of the cartels herself,
or even political, or even political. Retribution.
I mean, they've got the money to buy politicians left and right. So,
but I mean, even political retribution where they just make her life miserable.
Yeah.
And so I it's a sad situation. But this is like you mentioned, journalists. That's the other group. I mean, that they've killed over almost 20 journalists, and they become international stories whenever that happens. And these politicians, again, this is if you see the picture of this politician in Michoacan, I'm assuming he's a man in his 30s, maybe 40 years old at the oldest. He's got 2 kids, and now all of a sudden, he's dead. And why is he dead? Because he called out the federal government for not doing more.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just remarkable. Well, up here, we got some things going on too. And it seems like, more and more, and it's happening in cities. It's not happening everywhere. I mean, there's lots and lots of places where ICE is working extremely well with local authorities, like in Texas, for example. But there's, several mayors who are making these statements, that they don't want ICE around. And George, that's not their call. I mean, if ICE there's a federal supremacy rule, and ICE has every right to go in and enforce immigration laws. It would be a lot smarter for some of these, I think, mayors to sit down with ICE and say, look, how can we work together? Let's get the criminals out. We'll help you. We know where they are. But It seems like it's all become about Trump. It's just their way of exercising their independence from Trump.
Resistance.
Yeah, and I don't get it. I don't get it because who are they protecting when they do this, George?
Now, this situation that I'm seeing, or that we are all seeing, regarding ICE and the resistance, as the Democrats call it, the resistance against Trump and ICE, to me, it is the game book that was played with the police in 2020 with the George Floyd riots. It is an effort by the left, by the Democrats, to discredit law enforcement, in this case, federal law enforcement, ICE. It is an effort to discredit people who support ICE, people who are involved in the in the enforcement of federal laws, particularly Trump. And I think that it seems like the only people following that game plan are people who are disaffected, people who are immature, people who are far leftists. To me, it just doesn't make sense that you want to defend criminals who are not even citizens, or non-citizens that have entered without proper vetting. It is this game plan of defunding the police is now spilled over into the federal against federal law enforcement in trying to abolish ICE, as well as trying to discredit them. And again, the leftist news, unfortunately, is helping. But I'm hoping that some sanity can be brought to the issue pretty quick, because things are looking very, very bad in some cities.
In some cities, that's right. Now, for example, we had a situation here in the Dallas area. Actually, it was larger than Dallas, but there was one business in the Dallas area where they came in and they arrested like 40 people. 30 of them have, very long criminal records, especially human trafficking, young women too, trafficking young women. And in that particular operation, that went very well. There wasn't any noise. There weren't any protests. There was no people throwing stones at the ICE cars. It was an operation of 4 different groups: the local police, the Dallas police, several other police departments in the area, the state police, I guess that would be the Department of Public Safety, right? And then ATF. So these 4, plus ICE, of course. So these 4 groups worked with ICE to identify these people, to get in there, I'm not sure if they closed the business, but they took out a bunch of people. And what were these people guilty of? A lot of it was just trafficking young women into prostitution. Many of them had been deported and come back at much different times. So why would any city, I don't care whether you're in California or Illinois or Texas.
Why would any person want to defend folks like that? Protect.
Right. Exactly. Why wouldn't you say, you know what? Yeah, let's work together and get these people out.
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't have these crazy scenes that we see in LA where they're throwing stones at the police car.
Right.
And it's crazy. It's just absolutely crazy. Who are they defending? Now they say, well, we want to protect our immigrant community. Okay. Well, then work with ICE and you can identify who's a legal immigrant and who's not.
Exactly. Which really, really, when they say that, what's very interesting about that is it's the immigrant community, not to mention the entire Hispanic community, but the immigrant community are the ones that are victimized by these criminals. And then as far as the Hispanic community goes, they live in the Hispanic community. That's where they hide in plain sight. But again, there is no logic to the liberals and the Democrats' arguments anymore. I just don't. I don't understand their thinking.
It's all emotion, George, because it's just pure emotion. It's just, we hate Trump so much that we're going to oppose anything he does. That's basically what it comes down to. And in this particular case, it just makes no sense. Yeah. And I think the stupid remark of the week, George, has to be the governor of Illinois, who said to ICE, please don't come in during the holiday weekend so that the little children can go out and trick or treat peacefully. Well, it would have been a lot better if he had said, I'm going to put 10,000 National Guards, Illinois National
Make it
Guard,
safe for the trick or
and
treat.
I'm going to make it safe, so safe for the trick or treater that no little kid's going to get shot, as happens every weekend in Chicago. That would have been a much smarter move.
Amen.
And
Exactly,
yet, what does he
Silvio.
do? What does he do? He comes out and he says, you know, ICE is the reason that 10 people are killed in Chicago every week. Well, what was it 2 years ago when there were still 10 people killed every?
Exactly.
And so it's so immature, so emotional, this whole thing, just rooted on pure hatred of Trump. And
Trump, it's the Trump deranged syndrome. I wish there was a pill or something we could give these people, but
well, no, they're yeah, I think they're beyond hope.
they need therapy.
That's what they need. Actually, they do need therapy. Well, something else, not with ICE, but President Trump has been targeting these boats in the Caribbean, most of them coming from Venezuela, and apparently there are some Democrats who think that we're violating something, the rights of these people. Really? I mean, what, you have a boat full of cocaine or whatever, and full of cash? What are we supposed to do? Stop the boat and give everybody a lawyer and take them to court? Is that what we have to do? I mean, this is crazy again. These people are crazy. Well, I mean, I think the message, George, pardon me for interrupting you, but the message that President Trump is sending is, you know, we're going to take you out. And it's reminiscent. I remember one time a history teacher explaining to me what the British Navy did back with the pirates, 17th century or whenever that was. The pirates were running all over the Caribbean, causing all kinds of heck. And the British Navy said, if you look like a pirate,
boom,
if you talk like a pirate, if you hang around with pirates, if you visit their sanctuaries, we're going to take you out. And all of a sudden, became very risky to be a pirate.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We've got a situation here that I believe reflects the Democrats' view or the liberals' view of our Constitution, that it is a universal document rather than a national document. If you recall, there was some grumbling about the murder or the killing, should I say, the shooting of Osama bin Laden, because what the Democrats wanted, they wanted to capture him and bring him to trial in the United States. Now, again, how does an Arabian-born, an Arab-born killer, terrorist, get covered by the Constitution? I mean, it is war. You had to put together an international tribunal for the Nazi war crimes, but in this case, these are people who attacked the United States either directly with weapons or with drugs, and in some cases, drugs and weapons. And for them to be arguing that somehow due process is due to these people, again, it befuddles me. I'm not sure what they are thinking, other than they want to interrupt Trump's policy.
That's it.
I just don't understand it.
That's it. No, really, that's it. That's it. It's all about Trump. It's all about Trump. And I hate to repeat myself, but that's what it's all about. It's just, we have to oppose Trump, and that's what it's all about. But I think President Trump, first of all, he does have legal authority to do this because he named
defending the country. Yes.
Well, not only that, but he named them a terrorist organization.
Correct.
Under U.S. law. Okay, so he has the authority to actually. He can do a lot more than shoot the boats. He can go in and target them in different countries. So, I mean, he's got the authority to do it. But my goodness, I mean, why would a boat like this be in the middle of the Caribbean? I mean, full of guys and a bunch of boxes. I mean, what are they? Is this the Amway delivery service or what? What are
Amazon?
These people? Amazon or whatever? Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. Well, one last thought here, George, and Pew Research came out with a brand new poll this week, and it basically says that the country is if it's a large sample, I mean, like 6,000 people, I like it. I like it when they do large samples like that. But basically, what it said is that yeah, the Republicans have problems, but the Democrats have bigger problems. And one of the things that they conclude, these people who voted or participated in the poll, is that they don't think the Democrats are talking about things that matter to people. And they're into all these abstract discussions of, well, this or this or this and that, green energy, all this kind of stuff that just doesn't, it doesn't affect people. And I really believe that, George, that's at the core of this problem that the party has, the Democrat Party has. Just hating Trump is not enough, George.
There's it's the ideology, and it's not specifically the ideology except itself. It's the fact that they have an ideology that doesn't translate into real life and real reality. And this is something that communists and socialists have always had in its history. They propose an ideology and it sounds good, and then they put it into practice, and then all of a sudden, in our case, we've already been practicing for almost 200 years, almost 250 years, and a political and an economy that has served people very, very well. Now they come along and they are proposing an ideology that is, that sounds very, very good, like Mandami, the mayor, the mayoral candidate in New York, free housing, free bus rides. That sounds great. But then being Americans, people start asking, okay, great. How are we going to pay for it? What about taxes? What about the taxes? What about the taxes? And this is where they begin to fall apart. I think that you will always have a group of people who will want things free. I think that we will always have people who are suckers, and I'll use that term, suckers for socialism and communism. But when it comes into practice, particularly in the United States, we have too many practical people, and it's just, I just don't think it's going to fly. I just don't think that it's ever going to fly.
Well, and I mean, this fellow Mandani in New York is talking about free buses and free grocery stores or whatever. And it's just, first of all, he cannot do it. I mean, there is a practical problem. He doesn't have the authority to do. Yeah, he doesn't have the authority to do any of this. So, I mean, he's telling, I mean, the people who are applauding his ideas, either they're too stupid to know or they don't want to know that nothing that he's talking about he can actually do. I mean, that would be like the president of the United States saying, I'm going to cut the rent. Okay, how? Well, I'm going to cut the rent. Yeah. Under what authority are you going to cut the rent? Where did you? I mean, look at the problem that President Biden had with the tuition.
Yeah.
And the executive order that was eventually thrown out by the Supreme Court. But the ideology, though, is hard sometimes to understand, because let's go to Virginia, where you have this governor's race. The Democrat is likely going to win because they have more numbers. But in one of their debates, the whole question of boys, girls' bathrooms and taking a shower, a 17-year-old biological male taking a shower with a 17-year-old girl. And that would have been an extremely easy question for the Democrat candidate to answer. She could have said, no, I don't think men should be taking showers with teenage girls. Easy, done. No more debate. She won't answer the question, or she punts, or she says, well, it's up to the parents in the local district. No, it's not. That's one that the state can determine. So anyway, that what to me, it's like they're afraid of crossing certain lines of common sense. This is not right or left.
It appears that the radical left, which in my estimation is insane, has taken over the debate and the discussion and the policy making of the Democrats. And if there's anything that's going to hurt them in the future, that's going to hurt them in their elections, it's that.
Exactly. I mean, you're a Democrat, and somebody says, should a 16-year-old girl in a high school sports tournament, be forced to take a shower with a guy who thinks he's a girl, but he's a man? That should be such an easy one to tackle. That's crazy. That should, you know what I mean? It should be the kind of thing you shoot down in 10 seconds instead of like they wrap up themselves like a pretzel because I guess they don't want to offend people who send them money.
Well, that's it.
That's it. Well, one last thought here as we close tonight, George. This is an interesting anniversary on this day in 1948. So that would make it, 77 years ago, right? 48 would be 77 years. Harry Truman was running for president, not for re-election, because of course he took over for FDR. So he was not technically running for re-election. He was actually running on his own for the first time. And it was a tough campaign. Everybody thought that Thomas Dewey, governor of New York, was going to win. And early on, it did look that way until the other votes started to come in, and eventually the next day Truman won the election. But about 9:00 in the evening, the Chicago Tribune or the Chicago Sun-Times, one of those papers, ran a headline saying Dewey beats Truman. And it became one of the most amazing headlines ever because, of course, it didn't happen. And President Truman, and I don't blame him, then took the paper later and took this great picture of him holding up the paper. So that happened 77 years ago today. Man, how time flies, George.
Time flies when you're having fun.
Yes. Well, as it does with us. So thank you so much, as always, for joining us, George. Thank
you very much for inviting me, as usual.
One listener sent in a comment saying it's a political hot potato. You're exactly right. It is a political hot potato. You better believe it is. But it should be an easy potato to deal with, it seems to me, if you've got good political instincts.
You ought to have the political courage to address it, for crying out loud.
Exactly. I mean, should a 17-year-old guy, change or take a shower with a bunch of 16-year-old girls? That should be an easy one to say, no way, that's crazy. It shouldn't be very complicated, but it ties up a lot of Democrats these days. George, as always, thank you for your time, and thank you for your comments. And let's look forward to the next time we get together.
Thank you very much for inviting me, as usual.
All right. Our good friend George Rodriguez from South Texas. Again, that World Series was absolutely amazing. That Game 7 last night. I've got a post coming out about this Monday morning, talking about the beauty of a sport where you don't have a clock. You're not running out of clock. You got to win the game. You got to get the last out. And that's what has always made baseball so special. I'm not knocking the other sports. The other sports are great too, and I love the other sports. In fact, I'm a fan of other sports as well. But what has always made baseball so amazing is the fact that you have to get the last out. You can't just run out the clock. You can't take a knee and burn up 40 seconds. That doesn't happen in Major League Baseball, and that's the reason why these games were so exciting the last couple of days. Thank you for listening. Everybody have a wonderful Sunday night. This is Silvio Canto in Dallas, and we'll talk to you later.